I got a message from my dad one day asking whether I would want the PC from my parents' house. I said yes, of course, but I asked him why only now then he wanted to let it go, when it has been sitting unused in the storage room for years, and what's more is that it has existed since I was in primary school. Well, it had gone through an upgrade once, hence it is a 14-year-old PC, but still, as far as I can remember, when I moved to Singapore, that PC was mostly used by my eldest brother and eventually became his, even though initially it was purchased by my dad as a family PC. So when I first got to know about the PC being not used, I had asked for it once, but it was rejected. So the reason why I have asked him actually is not only just once, but I believe in, especially in the very beginning, I had asked like several times, but it was always rejected. I still have no idea why. Alright, because if you don't know, in the very beginning, in the past, I always used laptops because I didn't have a fixed place to stay in, unlike now. So at some point I wanted to get like a PC so that I can play like more games with more performance. And the only way I thought was that to get an old PC and then maybe buy some, parts and then install them in, right? Because as a students especially, a lot of us are cash strapped, right? So that's what I wanted to do, but they always rejected it. So I also learned that my brother had gotten himself a new PC, so that's why I wanted a PC, right? So I was pretty surprised when my dad suddenly dropped a text about this, and I also learned then that my brother had gotten himself a new PC, but I had no idea why they are still keeping it. Now, the reason why I'm saying this is because during his marriage ceremony in Indonesia, I actually visited him briefly during that period, and I saw with my own eyes how he actually had a new tower on his desk. And I saw the old PC sitting in the storage room itself. So that's when I was like, okay. Ever since then, I just always ask about it whenever I visited them, as it is always in the storage room, like sitting idling there, right? And now I want it even more because we have projects now. So it was really timely when there was a text from my dad, but there was one concern. Before I got it, I asked why they changed their PC in the first place, and he said there was something wrong with it or broken, I don't know, like it won't switch on or something. Like basically the reason was very fake, and that worried me, guys, because I don't know, like I know for sure that it has been sitting there for years and years unused, and the fact that they had changed the whole tower. Okay, fun fact, I mean, not everybody knows how to build a PC, right? So it was a pre-built PC, just like the old PC. It was a pre-built PC, but it was upgraded once, okay? So, but still, it has been decades, like more than a decade, and that really worried me. Unfortunately, I completely forgot to take a before picture, in which it looks clean and good on the outside, but on the inside, it was very dusty. I didn't expect much, to be honest, but the only way to confirm whether it's working or not is to bring it here and investigate it myself, and I did. After all, if it's going to be used for our next project and we plan to reuse some of the parts, well, hopefully we gotta investigate it anyway, right? So yeah, unfortunately I completely forgot to take the before picture, in which it looks clean and good on the outside, but on the inside it was really dusty. It was very dusty, okay, to the point that you can find what looked like dust balls here and there in the case, those kind of dust where it has, kind of gathered together and form a ball. Like it looks like a fur ball, but except it's dust, and it just got worse from there, trust me. And yeah, this is all I have left. You're gonna know why. I mean, obviously I dismantled the whole thing, right? And I only now then realize the PC has the brand Simbada as well. You're gonna know why. But yeah, this is the front panel plastic on the PC, I guess, on the chassis. And at least I managed to take pictures and some videos for the rest. But please pardon me because I don't have proper equipment to shoot, as I only have a webcam to shoot me, which is this one, and a phone to work with. So let's start with this, the side panel. Alright, can you see how dusty it is? This is the inside of the side panel, and yeah, this probably is a good start in my opinion. But guys, I'm so sorry again. I mean, I know I've shot quite a lot of videos because I mean I do have 3 channels after all, but this is probably the only tech channel that I am kind of starting on, because mainly because of my hobby. And you know, my day job is actually a software engineer, but I do have hobby for this kind of stuff, so I just decided to create a channel for this. And I always find it really hard to take videos of all this stuff when you don't have proper equipment. So I kind of really appreciate all those tech YouTubers now, especially because, whoa, really costs a lot for all the equipment. So yeah, anyway, back to the topic. The side panel actually comes with what's called the case cooler, in which I don't think I've seen in a long time. But of course, what comes next after the side panel is the inside, and look at this. So as you saw, there are 2 case coolers which are dusty on, of course, the dusty parts, right? I mean, this is the first time I've seen such level of dust. Like, you can see dust balls, guys, and the dust dangling on the parts, sticky dust on some of parts, and on some parts, and my hand covered in thick dust layer. Actually, it looks okay in the video, but in real life, it was worse than that, trust me. I actually had to go wash my hands in between several times because my hand got so dark from the dust that I wasn't able to grab my drink anymore because it was just too dirty, you know. It's just too unhygienic. And also, actually, I had ordered an electric air blower. I don't know whether that's what it's called, to you know, clean the dust, like to blow the dust away, instead of getting the can form, with the hope that it will ease my cleaning a little bit. But when I turned it on, it imploded, and I definitely didn't take that picture because it was too dangerous. The moment it imploded, smoke in my face, I just plug it out, throw it away. I went to dustbin outside, like further away from the house, and just throw it away because it's just too dangerous at that point. So I was left with only the brushes, as you can see from earlier. And yes, I cleaned them all manually, just using brushes, and I brushed every single corner of it. This includes opening up the PSU, which I brushed the inside as well as much as I could, because there's just a lot of spots, especially inside the PSU itself, where the dust can accumulate. Open up the heatsink of my GPU and cleaned it. And also, I was quite surprised to find there were 2 more heat sinks on my motherboards. You'll see it later. They're blue in color, actually, looking really pretty. Anyway, after painstakingly brushing off the dust from my PC for 4 hours, here are the results. I'm very proud of it, to be honest, even though I was just brushing them, not even wiping them yet. But yeah, we have pretty clean side panels, acceptable CPU cooler, looking good Seagate hard disk, DVD-ROM, half cleaned case coolers, as you can see, because the fans part are the hardest to clean, and CPU, partially dismantled GPU, because the heatsink really trapped the dust well, and brushed RAMs. Yes, this for sure. And the motherboard heatsinks with their dusty thermal pads, which I threw away afterwards because the dust just sticks on the pads. So yeah, I couldn't clean it properly. And a pretty alright motherboard condition, usable PSU, and the dismantled chassis itself, which is upside down somehow. I probably didn't realize I put it upside down, guys. But for the case especially, I literally tried to dismantle everything because there is a lot of spots where dust gathered, and found out that not all can be pulled out or dismantled. So yeah, this is probably one of it. This is just like the, you know, like kind of the accent of it. And then there's also the red casing in front, which I totally cannot dismantle it at all. And then there is, of course, I don't know, the metal part. Yeah, basically the chassis itself is made of metal, and yeah, it's not the most open kind of chassis, I have to say. There are really a lot of spots, and in fact, the small fence that's supposed to be in front of the panel, I wasn't able to clean it properly because I couldn't dismantle the front panel completely, so the small fans just kind of stuck there. So yeah, that's kind of hopeless. I'm not even sure whether I'm going to reuse them. And like the power button as well, that is stuck there, you know, on the front panel. I couldn't take it out, hence you see a bunch of wires inside. Yeah, those are all from the front panel stuff, like the USB ports, the power button, the front fans, the front small fans. As you saw, I had even tried to clean the screws because there was dust trap on them too, because some of the screws have some sort of spring with it. It's not really like a separate spring, but it's a screw with spring, so that spring kind of trapped dust inside. So really, though, I had posted previously, those YouTubers really made cleaning PC looking easy. I really don't know if the condition was just that bad or it's just way hard for me. But the exciting part is this: the hard part had been done. The dust was gone. That means we can now check its parts. Well, I did end up cleaning out each part a little bit more, especially the fans and the heatsinks, because they really trap dust very easily. And the previous brush, because I just did like a quick brush, you know, not a thorough kind of clean. So yeah, when the moment I put on my table, especially my table is white, I don't know whether you guys realize, but a lot of my tables are white. So the moment I put the parts down, especially like CPU cooler or the heatsink, you can see like a bits of dust kind of dropping on the table. So yeah, I just have to clean them again. So let's look at the parts, shall we? Now, when I got this PC, my family had no idea what they are, as they are just a typical consumer, right, who doesn't know what part is what. So I had to figure it out myself. The first one is on the case. It has this sticker, so I know that it is an Intel-Core i7 system. But of course, for such a pre-built system, they would chip out on some stuff, especially in Indonesia. So this CPU cooler further confirmed it, as it shows Intel after wiping off the thermal paste. It turns out to be an Intel Core i7 2600 2nd gen with 4 cores, 8 threads at 3.4 GHz from 2011. For the motherboard, it is MSI H77MA G43 from 2013, which has H77 chipset. For the PSU, it is seemingly budget, cheap Simbada PSU with 430 watts. Sound familiar? Yeah, the PC chassis itself is also from Simbada. So the case coolers, some China made, not branded ones. For the RAM sticks, there are 2 DDR3 sticks of different specs. A 4GB VC Pro PC3 10600 and an 8GB SK Hynix PC3 12800. You know what this means, right? So the PC was probably running at a lower speed, 1333 MHz here due to the mismatched RAM sticks. That's why I learned this the hard way when I was upgrading my old laptop at one time when I was still a student, and I learned about this. For the storage, it is a 2TB Seagate Barracuda Green from 2012 running at 5900 RPM. A little bit slow, but well, it still works, I guess, hopefully. Last but not least, the GPU, which is an AMD Radeon HD 6570 based on PBS 738 code, which apparently is a low-end card from 2011. How I figured it out is after wiping the thermal paste off the chip. It says AMD 1143 made in Taiwan, PBS 738. So at this point, I'm just so glad that I was able to identify all the parts, because if you are able to identify all the parts, you pretty much know these parts, like what's the compatibility. If you're going to change some of the parts, you're going to be able to ensure that the new parts are going to be compatible with your motherboard and stuff. But we can't stop there, right? We gotta test the parts after cleaning them up and identifying them. So after all, these are gonna be used for our next project. This is where I assumed too much. Honestly, I assembled the CPU with Newton paste, CPU cooler on top, click in the RAM sticks, plug in the PSU, then tried to turn it on with my screwdriver, and nothing happened. Yeah, I was just too optimistic. I don't know why. So I restarted again from basic, which is testing the PSU first by putting in paper clip to connect the green and black wire from the PSU, and it worked. Fortunately, really, because PSU is one of the parts where I was very worried. We need it to really, power the whole thing up in the first place, right? So next, plugging in to my motherboard to power the motherboard, and nothing happened. What's new? Turns out the CMOS battery died, but I had that battery lying around, which is basically using a typical CR2032 type, you know. So yeah, this is good. I just happen to have this type of battery lying around the house. And after I swapped it in, I tried to turn it on again, and the CPU cooler's fan spins. Alright, okay, this is the important part, guys, because if let's say your PSU works, your CMOS battery works, these are the two things basically that's powering the whole motherboard. Alright, so the moment I saw the CPU cooler's fan spins, oh my god, that was the joy, guys. Trust me. It's like there's certain satisfaction feeling that you can only get from this kind of thing. By the way, I tested this CMOS battery with a multimeter, so you can do it too if you're facing the same situation. If I'm not wrong, when I was testing this particular CMOS battery, it showed nothing, like 0 point something volt, like really low instead of the usual capacity, you know. I mean, if you guys want to see, this is how it looks like. There you are, you're getting it. Let's go. Yeah, so basically there was this warranty sticker on it, so I just had to peel it away. I mean, it's been 14 years. I don't know why there's still... Oh, and a lot of the parts still have the warranty stickers. I literally just peeled all of them away. Next, let's try to connect to my modern Prism monitor through HDMI cable, because you know, when your motherboard is working or PSU is working, your motherboard got power, obviously you're going to try to plug it into your monitor to see if there is some sort of display or BIOS display, but there was nothing. It just showed no signals again and again. But fun fact, this motherboard doesn't have a HDMI port, so I had to use some sort of HDMI converter to convert from the old port on the motherboard to HDMI cable, and it didn't work. So this is when I decided to try to use the GPU, because I was actually going to try the GPU later, but anyway, because we need it, so I'm just gonna do the same again. So we put a new tone paste on, reassembled it, and put it on the motherboard. The reason is because this GPU has HDMI port in it. And oh boy, it runs beautifully. I mean, GPU these days, you don't really see the fan inside, right? Like, it's basically covered in some sort of plastic. So yeah, when it spins, there's that like, ooh, it just looks beautiful, guys. I mean, look at this. Isn't it beautiful? But do you guys notice something, guys? Both the fans from the CPU cooler and the GPU seem to spin and stop, and that repeats again and again. So I thought there was some sort of issue, but it turns out that it was just how it works for those parts back in the day. Like, it will just stop and spin, stop and spin. And because I'm really pretty sure my current PC doesn't run that way. It will just either run constantly at a lower speed, or it will just run real fast when you're processing something heavy, right? So yeah, I even used my wattage meter to check, and you can see that it spikes whenever both fans start to spin. So when it spins, it spiked. When it stopped, it just dropped. But well, if that was just how it works for old parts, then so be it, right? I mean, I don't know much about it as well, because this PC, when it was around, I was still just a kid, right? So I didn't have this knowledge back then. And I grew up with people like Linus Tech Tips, Jay's 2 cents, you know, all the high-end parts. Anyway, power runs through, so it's good. Fan spin, good news. But after connecting the HDMI cable to the port directly, it still shows no signals. So at this point, there are only two suspicions, guys. It's either the GPU HDMI port not working or not compatible, because based on my research, it's apparently using the version 1.4 or older. But of course, for the modern HDMI version, they are all mostly version 2.0, or the RAM issue. But the thing is that it's not like the GPU was broken or something, because we definitely know that it draws power, the fan spins. It's probably just the port or compatibility issue for the GPU side, or it's the RAM issue, right? Because RAM is needed for the display as well. So I took out these sticks and the motherboard beeped. It gave out 3 beeps repeatedly. So this proves that our motherboard really works, and I was actually very happy about it. I don't know why, even though it gives out 3 beeps. But it really works, because it really shows that the motherboard works and our RAM sticks were actually working. How do I know? Because if the RAM sticks died, the motherboard would beep too, right? I kind of look it up, and apparently if the RAM sticks dies, the motherboard would give out the 3 beeps as well. And it was further backed by the wattage consumed when I plug in the RAM sticks, indicating the sticks were actually drawing power accordingly. So what I meant by that is that when I took it out, I measured the wattage, and then when I put one RAM stick in it, there's a few wattage increase in the terms of the power consumption, right? So that's how you know that, okay, the RAM is actually drawing power properly. It's not like it's broken or something, because it's just drawing reasonably few wattage. And most importantly, when you plug back in, when you install the RAM back in, the beeping stops. So that means the motherboard is able to detect the RAM, but there's something wrong with the display still. Alright, so this is where I'm stuck at, guys. Before testing with the hard disk or operating system, we want to make sure that at least there's some sort of display or BIOS display, right? So we can't even get the signal, and I don't have any old monitors lying around that's compatible with such old motherboard, and I don't want to go out to buy old monitors as well, because in Singapore, unlike in the US or Canada, Facebook Marketplace is full of scammers, and eBay will take weeks to deliver, not to mention that eBay also has scammers. And at this juncture, I'm just doing this as a hobby. I'm not really like those full-fledged tech YouTuber. That's when you probably need all the parts lying around, you know what I mean, so that you can always do testing and stuff like that. But for me at this case, I'm not there yet, so the only way I could think of is trying to get this display up, and by doing so is try to get a new old GPU that has HDMI port that is compatible with my monitor's HDMI cable at the same time. Because so far, based on our testing, we kind of managed to narrow down to the point that, okay, there's some sort of incompatibility. That's why, I don't know, the signals just don't cross to my monitor or something, if you get what I mean. So yeah, so that's probably the first step that we're going to take here. But of course, it's not going to be those modern GPU, because we still gotta make sure that the GPU is compatible with our motherboard, because so far we know that the motherboard works, and we are probably going to keep the motherboard at this point. And also, one thing for sure is my monitor is working, because it is the same monitor that I am using currently with my current PC, which is this one basically. And I probably need your blessing, guys. I mean, not just you, but all of you.